Alrighty, y'all. So I was really debating whether I was going to do this or not, but one of my friends was actually wanting me to do something like this. So I thought, hey, let me just throw my 2 cents into the whole conversation. Obviously, looking at the gameplay and maybe even the title, yes, I'm going to be talking about Devil May Cry Season 2, which literally just dropped yesterday, May 12th. It dropped with 8 episodes, and I actually just binge watched the entire 8 episodes within the 1 day time frame. So I just wanted to give a quick little thoughts about it, but before I do start, I do apologize if the gameplay is complete trash. I haven't played these Devil May Cry games in a really, really long time, especially looking at the gameplay, which is Devil May Cry 2 and Devil May Cry 3. Um, so I do apologize about that, but and I don't necessarily know. I feel like I'm gonna just be saying like a pretty big spoiler warning because I don't know if I'm gonna be diving into spoilers from the show, but I feel like I do have to talk here and there about some spoilers in regards to get my full thoughts out the way. So I kind of want to divide this into like certain sections that I do want to cover. One of those sections obviously being the story, the other one being the characters, and then obviously like the action, art and animation, and then like the music choices and where I feel like this series might go in the future because I'm kind of torn as to what they're actually going to be doing within this entire thing. So looking at the story, I feel like the story is very bare bones in nature. The one thing that I did find interesting is that I feel like they've heavily dove into like Devil May Cry 2-esque story. And the reason I bring that up is because the main person or like the main head honcho of season 2 is Arius, which we all know Arius being like the main bad guy within this Devil May Cry 2. And even looking at his Wikipedia page, I'm gonna read it so that way I could kind of explain it right. So his Wikipedia page basically says that he's a wealthy, insane businessman and a modern day sorcerer who runs the international corporation Ouroboros. He seeks the four arcana artifacts to summon the demon deity Argosax, the Chaos, the game's ultimate boss. The reason I bring this up is because this is basically copy and paste what we see within this game, not this game, this season in and of itself. The only difference I do notice about him wanting to resurrect Argosax within the game for him, it's more so to be, I guess, like immortal in a way, but the series does it differently where he basically wants to get this achievement of Argosax to go into the demon realm to take down Mundus to be the new leader of the demon world as well as Earth's realm. I'm getting it confused because I just watched the Mortal Kombat movie, but that's where like this kind of deviates from the actual game, where I guess Arasax is a means to really catapult his own being into the resurrection of that monster to be able to actually take down a Mundus. So technically, it's like Arius slash Argosax is like the quote unquote main villain, but then obviously the bigger bad that they're trying to take down is Mundus. And the reason that I do find this interesting is because obviously Devil May Cry 2 as a whole is not the best game. Like I feel like a lot of people really rate it to be the lowest game out of like the 5 or 6 if you count the reboot. So the fact that they use a lot of story beats within Devil May Cry 2 was like the main story for season 2 was really interesting for me. Obviously with little tweaks here and there, but obviously after seeing the trailers, I kind of knew that Arias was going to be like the main villain and then that Mundus was going to be like a secondary like big boss that we might be seeing. But in and of itself, I was pretty intrigued with this. And then obviously moving on to like character stuff, right? The characterization of a lot of the characters, I know has a lot of people very, very disappointed just with a lot of things that they actually did within the series. Obviously, first and foremost, they heavily, heavily nerfed Dante and Virgil for this season. I feel like they've been nerfing them for a while, so the things that they're doing were very, very disappointing. I really didn't like, over the fact of just watching their fights that they were heavily nerfed. Like they weren't using their full power. And I know a lot of DMC fans were also mad that they didn't really include a lot of Virgil's moves or techniques from the games into the show, which I kind of agree. I feel like the way that Dante and Virgil fight within this latest season just goes to show that they're kind of similar in nature, but they didn't really do anything unique to differentiate them as sword fighters. And that in and of itself leads to like Virgil too. I feel like we got a lot of screen time with Virgil, seeing his backstory, and let it be known, spoiler alert, his backstory obviously within the show is completely different to what we actually see in the games. Because obviously in the games after like Devil May Cry 3, right, we see him get stuck within like the demon world. And when that happens, he goes up against Mundus, and then Mundus, obviously he loses to Mundus and he becomes like his servant, which is where Neo Angelo actually comes into play. Season 2 does it differently, where Virgil is actually captured by Mundus, but then he's brainwashed by Mundus, saying that, all the other people like Argosax and them are the true villains that killed Ava, his mother. And that Mundus in and of itself is like the person who's here to take care of him and to wish him well and to train him. So it's really different in that regards. And obviously, at the end of the actual season, we do get to see that yes, Virgil learns the truth by the three-headed being that we get to see in one of the games that shows him the truth that Mundus is the one that actually ordered the death of his mother, and that leads to like that, I guess, the character growth of him wanting to take down Mundus at the very, very end of the actual season. And yeah, kind of going into like the ending, right? The ending of the season, obviously, Argosax is resurrected. He gets pushed into the demon realm, where that was like the last resort by Dante and Virgil, was to move Argosax into the demon world, opening that portal so that way Argosax could go up against Mundus and have Mundus, the head honcho, be the one to take him down. So it's kind of crazy how they played that up. Like, yes, Dante and Virgil by themselves cannot take down this dude. They needed like the biggest bad, that being the king of the underworld, Mundus, to be able to do so. And that's kind of where it ends, right? Like, we get to see, obviously, Virgil get stuck there, and he's going to be like, he's wanting to take down Mundus to be the new leader of the actual underworld. Dante is kind of just, in a crater after being launched from the demon realm into Earth realm, and Virgil closing the portal to leave him behind, throwing the amulet, and then the amulet splits into two, the red one being Dante's, the blue one being Virgil's. And then we get a little glimpse of what Lady's going to be doing, because yes, if you guys played Devil May Cry 3, you knew that Lady's father was alive, right? Within Devil May Cry 3, we get to see him as Arkham as well as Jester. Obviously, we saw Jester throughout Season 2, so we already knew that by the end of Season 2, they were going to be showcasing that, yes, Jester is indeed Arkham, which is obviously Lady's father, and it seems like we're going to be moving into the direction of Lady going to look for Arkham, which I don't necessarily know where he's at, because I don't know if he's stuck in the demon realm or if he is in the human realm, so it's going to be interesting to see if that's what the premise of season 3 is going to be, because apparently DMC has been greenlit for a season 3. And yeah, like the characterization of some of the characters just fell off for me. Even with like Virgil in and of itself, because I feel like Virgil within the games, he's usually like a very cool, collected, serious character. But in this series, he's like smiling, having fun, even sometimes taunting some of the enemies, which for me personally, I felt like was out of character. You guys could correct me if I'm wrong, if Virgil does have like, I guess, like smiling moments within the series, because even for me playing the games, I feel like the only times I saw him smile was like in DMC5 at the very end, like one or two little chuckling frames. So it's kind of weird how they did that. And in and of itself, like I mentioned, I feel like Virgil was just heavily nerfed within this actual season as a whole, because we don't really get to see Virgil do as much. There's nothing to do with like his Mirage Blades, nothing to do with like his other weapon choices. Even like in the show, he defeats Beowulf, and we don't even see him get like the gauntlets of Beowulf, which is what he's kind of known for within Devil May Cry 3. We don't get to see his Judgment Slash. We don't get to see anything from Virgil, and I feel like that was the most lackluster thing. Yes, he had a lot of moments of defeating people within this season, but he just felt like a regular swordsman, where I feel like he's such a bigger cosmic being compared to someone like Dante. And like even Dante and Lady's relationship within the actual show, I know a lot of people were cringing at the fact that yes, they made these two love interests. Obviously, we kind of got that tease within season 1 that they're having like this cat and mouse situation when it comes to like will they, won't they. But the fact that they went full blown, they did in this series, was like 2 or 3 scenes of them kissing and off screen stuff going on. Like, it's really just weird, because for me, I never saw Dante as like a pursuer when it comes to stuff like this. Obviously, when it comes to their relationship in Devil May Cry 3, yes, he does make approaches to her, but it's not to the point where he's just like, I want this person, or I want to do as much as I can for this person, like we saw within Devil May Cry, the anime season 2. So that in and of itself was weird, because Lady did so much bad, and then Dante's just like, I think I forgive you. It's just like, dude, she did so many things, both wrong and bad. betraying him, not being a good person to him. Like I honestly don't necessarily know where this characterization is. And even at the end of the season, he told her like, "Hey, let's meet up at that pizza place that we first met if all of this ends." And she didn't even go there. Like she legit just wrote him a letter, put it under a sundae, and dipped without him even being able to be there. Like I honestly don't know what the purpose of some of these characterizations are for these characters, y'all. Like it's so weird. Like honestly, like I was telling people, I feel like as an anime series, it's really, really good. But as like a Devil May Cry anime. Like I feel like they're taking so many liberties that just don't necessarily have to do with anything of the actual story in and of itself. So if you're going into the season feeling like you're going to be getting a bunch of lore explanations or readaptation of the game, bro, you are not getting that. You're going to be leaving even more pissed than anything, which I feel like I'm seeing with a lot of Devil May Cry fans when it comes to their review of the season in and of itself. And even when it comes to like the music, right? I'm seeing a lot of people getting upset over the music choices in regards to it just being like licensed music in and of itself and it having nothing to do with the actual story as a whole. And that I do agree with. I wish they were able to make a bit more of like, I guess you could say, original music for the soundtrack of this game because Devil May Cry as a whole has amazing music when it comes to their actual games, right? Like we get like Never Surrender, Devil Trigger, I forgot what it's called. Subhuman, is that Dante's? Obviously, Bury the Light, Legacy. Like they have so many options, and these chickens are going crazy while I'm doing this review. But like I'm mentioning, they have so many opportunities just to make original music that could fit to this, even if it's just instrumental music. But the fact that they just chose like random licensed music just to hype up this entire show, that in and of itself for me as well, I felt like was lackluster. So obviously, I'm a big like, obviously, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor was cool. My Immortal from Evanescence was cool. Like, there's so many cool choices, but did they actually need to be in this show? I don't think so. Like I mentioned, I really wish that they could have just gone with like original music and not be lazy, because I feel like that would have fit the mold of Devil May Cry more than licensed music just to hype people up in certain moments of the actual season. But the thing I will mention that I did like a lot in regards to this season was its overall art and animation. Like the sword fighting, the gore, everything that they showcased was really, really good. I liked when they had more so like the 2D fighting scenes with like Dante and Virgil or Dante versus anybody. I feel like what kind of took me out of the immersion was more so like the Devil Trigger parts of it, because you could instantly tell that when there was either Devil Trigger or Dante, Devil Trigger Virgil, Arasax, Mundus, like those fights, you could definitely see like the 3D CGI that they were doing, and it did feel off when you're kind of trying to match it with like the 2D backgrounds that some of these things had to offer. But when it was just sticking to the 2D art and animation, like it was like chef's kiss. It was just so beautiful to see. And honestly, I think it was episode 2 or 3, they had also like different art styles like they did with season 1 when they're doing like the backstory, that I really like to see as well. Like we got to see regular art, chibi art, detective art, kind of like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure art with like the detailed like lighting and everything. Like art and animation wise, it was pretty sick. I know a lot of fans were really upset over the combat though. Like I mentioned, they really nerfed Virgil and Dante, so they weren't really doing all the cool stuff that we're used to them doing. And even like I'm looking at the gameplay and I'm using Ebony and Ivory, right? Like within this show as well, like they hyped up Ebony and Ivory within that one scene in the bunker, but I feel like Dante never really uses them, and that's one of his core weapons that he has within the game, apart from the rebellion, right? So it's kind of interesting, like the choices that the producers had in regards to what works and what doesn't, to kind of blow this thing out of proportion. So did I like the art and animation? Yeah, I found it passable. Do I wish they did more with it? Of course. Like I really wish they had more of the original fighting stances that these character has, or a lot more of like the weapon choices a part of just Rebellion Yamato, because this game is really built off of him having weapons. Because I know like in season 1, he was using Idran Gudra, I think that's how you pronounce it, but he was using like the dual wield blades and stuff like like that. So it kind of sucks how we didn't get that freedom with season 2 with like, Beowulf's gauntlets or any other kind of weapons like the Sword of Sparta and stuff like that. That was kind of just thrown to the wayside. So I feel like there's just a lot that could have been more in that aspect as well. So I feel like the more I talk about it, it's like it was sick seeing it in the moment, but the more you think about it, it's like, man, they could have it's so many missed opportunities to just make it better or at least make it a bit more relevant to the diehard fan base of Devil May Cry. And then to finally top it off, let's talk about the future. Because, like I mentioned, I believe from what they were sharing, it seems like Devil May Cry has been greenlit for a season 3, which might be coming out either in 2027 or maybe early 2028. And this in and of itself, I'm kind of worried about, right? Because at the end of the day, like I mentioned, the ending of season 2 has so much left to be desired because we get to see obviously Virgil kind of shooting Dante into the human realm and closing the portal, leaving Virgil to go up against Mundus, and Mundus saying, "Oh, let's see if you could do what your dad couldn't." So we're gonna see Virgil going up against Mundus. Obviously, we don't know what Dante's going to be doing. It seems like Dante's going to try to find his hardest way to get back into the demon realm, to get his brother back. It seems like Lady's going to be going on her own journey to kind of locate and possibly kill Arkham slash Jester slash her father. It's kind of interesting to see where that's going to be happening, right? Because if that's the way that things are going, I don't necessarily know if that means that Jester slash Arkham is going to be I guess, the big bad of season 3, just because they really can't do much, right? And they kind of put themselves in a situation where it's weird because they can't have Virgil come back as a villain, especially with the arc he had in this one. And it's weird too because in the main series, Virgil goes up against Mundus and he loses and he becomes his servant slash Neo Angelo. We already got that in season 2. Like, we got Neo Angelo in this thing. We already had Virgil losing to Mundus or becoming his servant in this season. So if they have him lose, which chances are he is, right? Like, Virgil couldn't take down Argisax, and obviously Mundus was able to single-handedly take down Argisax. So I honestly don't necessarily know how Virgil can win against someone like Mundus. So if Virgil wins, that's going to be like why did we need Dante in the first place? You know what I mean? So I feel like Virgil's going to be losing that fight and just repeating things. And if they repeat things, that's going to be really, really messy with storytelling. Unless they want to do it where Mundus defeats Virgil and Dante has to go save Virgil. And then we get like Virgil and Dante teaming up to go up against Mundus. But then at the same time, I honestly don't know if they could do more after that, right? Once Mundus ends, unless they want to do a time skip and do, more seasons with Nero. If they want to go down like the more recent or like the new gen Devil May Cry. And like I'm mentioning, if Lady's going to be going after Jester, I definitely don't think Jester in and of itself is a strong enough foe to warrant like a head honcho status for season 3, especially within, Devil May Cry 3, the game. He kind of just plays a secondary-ish character while they kind of just power up for like the main head honcho of Devil May Cry 3. So I honestly don't necessarily even know where they could go with this, because in my mind, I'm like, ooh, they could just do Jester, but Jester ain't enough, man. Like, I feel like we need like a bigger villain to kind of emphasize like a bigger threat to the world, and there's not that many villains left, especially since they kind of burned out Argisax as well as Mundus in season 2. So they're either going to have to bring back Mundus for season 3 as the big bad, or they're going to have to create someone original like they did with season 1 with the White Rabbit, right? So I honestly don't know, y'all. I feel like the best course scenario in my mind that could probably make the most sense is just, and I don't want this to happen, but just have Virgil lose and have Dante's entire arc be going and trying his hardest to get back into, the demon realm to get Virgil for the two of them to stop Mundus. Because I feel like the two of them together, with the experience that they have or more character growth, maybe they'll be able to take down Mundus. Like, I feel like that's where this would go. And if Virgil somehow does succeed with Dante on taking down Mundus and he comes back to Earth or human realm, which I don't think it's happening based off of what Virgil said of him wanting to rule the demon realm, maybe that's where he could meet that person like he does in Devil May Cry 4 to make Nero. Like, I honestly don't know, y'all. I'm kind of at a loss as to where this story could go. I feel like this is going to be more so for all of you theorists out there who love Devil May Cry and feel like you could write a better story than whatever the heck these people are doing. Because at the end of the day, season two was just a whole bunch of nothing burger in regards to the story, and it just kind of puts you in a position of like, what can they even do next if the season three is going to be coming? So man, I honestly don't even know what to say. Like, I honestly finished season two with like goosebumps, and I'm like, dude, this was so amazing. Like, I really loved it, but I guess that's just like the recency bias, right? Where I'm like, I'm watching it and I really liked it, but the more I think about it, there's just a lot that was going wrong. Is it the worst thing ever? No, like for me, in and of itself, I enjoyed it. Like I was like a casual viewer. I enjoyed what they presented. Like I mentioned, art and animation, beautiful. Characters left much to be desired, but it was cool to see some of the nostalgia acts within the season. It's just they could have done so much better. And where they're heading with season three, I wish they could have a bit more of a build up to have fans know exactly where it's going. But yeah, like I mentioned, that's like my overall rundown. I don't really want to give it like a score out of 10 because obviously recency bias would make me want to put this thing at like 7 or 8 out of 10. But I know Devil May Cry fans out there would bash my head against the wall saying like, no, this is like the worst Devil May Cry thing ever, which I do agree as like a diehard Devil May Cry fan. For people out there, this isn't going to be for you just with how much retconning they're doing when it comes to like the character, the story, so on and so forth. But for casual viewers, hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Like I mentioned, I enjoyed what was presented, and I felt like nothing in and of itself was too bad, apart from just story and characters and where they could go from there. So yeah, at the end of the day, I'm really curious as to what people out there might think about this series who are a bit more in tune with the community and a bigger fan of Devil May Cry compared to me because like I mentioned, I'm kind of more so like a casual fan of the series. I played all the games, even the reboot. I've beaten all the games. I suck at this game, as you could see from the gameplay. So I'm just a nothing person talking about a series that I like and an anime that just released. So yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts of the whole situation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed what I had to say in regards to like the story, the music, the characters, art and animation, and where I think the story might go. And I'm kind of curious as to what the Devil May Cry community thinks about where it's actually going to be going as well. So yeah, I'm really excited. After all the negative stuff I've said, after all the rambling I said, after me having to catch my breath right now, yes, even after everything I said, I'm still really excited to see where they go with season three. And I'm hoping that they give it the love and care that it needs to really flesh it out and make it a bit more attuned with the fans. And I'm really hoping that the fans give the anime a shot, even if it's not the best thing out there. Because maybe sorry, y'all, my headset just shut off, basically telling me to shut up. But yeah, like I'm mentioning, maybe all of this uproar could definitely just speed things up, or maybe even give us the potential Devil May Cry 6 that a lot of us have been waiting for so long. I don't want to say us, because I know there's people out there who have probably been diehard fans and have been waiting for the series to continue. But here's to hoping that we get something Devil May Cry, y'all, because I love this series, even though I'm not like the deepest fan of it. But like I mentioned, I'm really hoping that with this anime, or just maybe something in the future, the series just doesn't die, because I love this thing and I really want to see it flourish. But that's enough of my rambling. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Like I mentioned, leave your thoughts and opinions of the anime down in the comments if you care, or hopefully you guys enjoyed some of the things or even the gameplay that I had to showcase to you guys, even though I suck at this game. So I'm gonna stop rambling. Hopefully you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll catch you all when I see you all again. Peace out, y'all.